Okay, so picture this, right?
Yeah.
You never, ever have to worry about your energy bill ever again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You're fully powered by the sun 24/7, clean energy just flowing to your home whenever you need it. Sounds pretty dreamy, right?
It does, yeah. It's like a dream that, it's getting closer and closer. But as with any dream that is actually worth chasing, it's not quite as simple as it seems.
Yeah.
Right? There's more
Yeah.
to it. I mean, anyone who has even looked into solar panels even a little bit, they know that it's not just sticking them onto your roof and you're done.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I feel like I hit a wall when I'm doing all this research about solar. Okay, you hear about the initial cost and then getting it installed, but then what happens?
Right.
It's like you're just on your own to just figure it out.
Yeah, that's a super common concern, and it makes me think about this one crucial thing about renewable energy in general. It's not just about the actual technology, right? It's the support system around it.
Yeah.
That's actually what got us so interested in Fronius for this deep dive. They seem to be thinking about solar less as a product and more of a long-term service,
Yeah.
Like a partnership, kind of.
That's really interesting. I remember reading something about them emphasizing service and support. Is that what you're talking about?
Sure.
It's like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. It's like when you get a new car,
Yeah.
you know there are going to be tune-ups and stuff. A part needs to get replaced eventually.
Yeah.
You're going to want a mechanic that you trust, right?
Exactly. And that's what it seems like Fronius really gets that. They offer multilingual technical support, which is huge if you're let's say an installer who's working in different countries.
Yeah.
And they prioritize on-site repairs to reduce waste and all that downtime.
Wow, on-site repairs.
Yeah.
That's pretty rare these days.
Right.
You don't see that commitment very often.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like the just throw it away and get a new one thing that we see everywhere else.
Oh, yeah, totally. They actually want to make sure that your system lasts.
Yeah.
And to do that, they even offer training to local installers.
Really?
Yeah, they get it. They know that having those skilled technicians actually on the ground, that's a big deal. It's important for everyone to, succeed in the long run.
It's like they're thinking ahead, way ahead, to try and anticipate all the little issues before they even become a problem.
Totally.
I actually have a quote here. This is from Stephen Holzinger. He's the head of Fronius Technical Support International.
Gotcha.
And he said, specialist advice and support in the respective local language during installation, optimization, and maintenance is just as much a part of reliable product quality as the installed components themselves.
I feel like that really gets at their whole thing. They're not just trying to sell you some technology and then just peace out. They want to make sure that it works for you.
Right.
For a long time.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
So let's get into how this support actually works, because this is what I'm really curious about. They have that thing, I think it's called Digital Lifecycle Assistance.
This is where it actually gets interesting. Imagine having this digital partner who's always watching out for your solar setup, just making sure that everything's running smoothly, even sending you tips on how to get the most out of your energy.
Okay.
That's kind of what Fronius did. They created these digital tools, right?
Wow. A digital partner. That sounds way better than me trying to read one of those instruction manuals.
Right.
So what kind of tools are we talking about here? What can they actually do?
So they have a bunch of different tools, but the one that everyone loves is this thing called solar.web. Think of it like a control center, but for your entire solar setup.
Right.
And you can even access it all from an app.
Okay, so I can see how much energy I'm making right from my phone. That's cool and all, but does that really matter that much? I mean, what am I really going to do with all that info?
Well, that's the thing. You don't have to be some kind of energy whiz to get something out of it. Fronius made it super easy to use. It even makes sense for people who are totally new to this whole thing.
Okay.
Say it's a sunny afternoon, you're at work. The app will actually send you a notification letting you know your panels are just going crazy making all this free energy.
Really?
Yeah. So you can remotely turn on your washing machine right from your phone. You're basically using all that free sunshine instead of having to pay for energy from the grid later.
Now that's what I'm talking about. See, that's actually helpful. It's practical. It saves money. Now you're making it make sense.
Yeah. And it's not even just about saving money. It can actually track how much energy you're putting back into the grid. So you're helping the planet, right?
Right.
But you might even be able to get credits from your energy company. It's like they're rewarding you for doing something good.
That's awesome. I'll take any bonus I can get. But what about people like me who aren't, tech wizards? Is this solar.web thing pretty simple to use?
I've heard that it's a top priority for them to make it super user-friendly. They want to make sure their apps are easy and make sense, even if you aren't a tech person. And plus, even if something does happen and you get stuck, they have that customer support we were talking about.
Right, right. They've got you covered. That makes me feel a lot better. It sounds like they thought of everything. But it's not just the homeowner who's benefiting from all this stuff, right?
Yeah. Installers love them too. They use these tools to keep an eye on their clients' systems remotely, and they can use them to spot potential issues. They can even do maintenance before anything goes wrong.
So it's like having an assistant, but for your solar panels. They just make sure everything is A-OK behind the scenes.
Totally. It all goes back to that partnership thing. They're not just there to make the sale and bounce. They actually want to make sure that things work for you for a long time.
Yeah.
And speaking of a long time, we need to talk about something else that's a big part of how they think.
Okay.
Sustainability. But for the entire process, from the beginning to the end.
Sustainability from beginning to end. Okay, so we talked about them installing it. We talked about them supporting you after it's already in. We even talked about the tech that's watching over it all. But then what happens? Like when these solar panels eventually get old and stop working? I'm not going to lie, I haven't really thought about that part yet.
Yeah, it's not something most people really think about, but it's super important if we're really talking about energy that's actually good for the planet in the long run. And this is another thing I really like about Fronius. They're all about making sure things can get fixed.
Really? So you're saying if something breaks, you don't have to just throw the whole panel away.
Yeah.
You can actually fix it.
That's the idea. They make their inverters. That's a really important piece of the whole system so that they're modular. That means if something goes wrong, you just swap out one part instead of the whole thing.
It's like when, your computer acts up, you can just replace that one part. You don't need a whole new computer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you're not throwing the whole thing out.
That makes a lot of sense. That's definitely better for the planet. Less waste. Plus, I bet it's cheaper than buying all new parts, too.
For sure. It helps the system last way longer. It's less trash in the landfill. And it's even better for the planet because you're not making new parts all the time.
Right. It's better all around.
Totally. And actually, I found this quote from a guy named Tiago Martins. He's the managing director of ProWatt. It's another installer that works with Fronius. And he was saying that this whole reliability thing, it's a big deal for customers. He said, 2 of the key reasons we like the brand are the sustainability and quality of the products. They're very reliable, and this gives end consumers a greater sense of security. Yeah, that peace of mind makes a big difference, right? It just makes you feel better knowing that this thing you bought is built to actually last and that they're going to be there for you if it doesn't work out. That's got to be a good feeling.
Totally. It changes the game.
Yeah.
When you start thinking about solar power like that, it's not just about spending money once and hoping for the best. It's like you're buying into something bigger, you're part of this whole movement towards something better.
Totally. It's like Fronius is saying, we're in this together for the long run. So now that we're wrapping up this deep dive on Fronius, I feel like they're setting a whole new standard.
Absolutely. They're challenging the whole industry to think bigger, It's not about making a quick buck. It's about doing something that's good for everyone in the long run. Honestly, that's the kind of thinking we need if we're serious about this whole clean energy thing.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's not just about slapping up a bunch of solar panels and calling it a day. It's got to last. It shouldn't create a bunch of garbage, and it should actually give people control over their own energy. So next time you see a solar panel, just remember, it's more than just a thing, right?
Yeah.
It's part of this whole movement towards something better. And hopefully, companies like Fronius are the ones leading the charge.